Good morning. It is a Tuesday morning, and we are headed for another day, which will be very similar to what we had yesterday. There are still heat advisories in far northern California. Pacific Northwest, there's red flag warnings, heat advisories, desert Southwest, extreme heat warnings, a lot of fog along the coast, marine layer, pretty deep still. And there has been such a subtle variation day to day in the weather around here. Things are going to change a little bit as we go into the next few days. We did have those thunderstorms the last four nights on the west slope of the Sierra Nevada, and aggressive thunderstorms, like a lot of them. That probably won't be the case again today. We'll look into that. This is a humpback whale, which I learned something today. So humpies and the grays are moving right now. They move up the coast. They migrate essentially from Mexico to Alaska, or or humpback's case, they kind of sometimes stop in far northern California. They're bottom feeders. They feed other ways as well. But one of the things about the grays that's interesting, I'll show you a gray here too, is that they'll stir up in the sand and they'll kind of get up organisms from the sand and then filter feed through those, which I didn't know. And I've seen them. I've actually been surfing in Pacifica, which we're going to go to in a minute, because they're seeing a lot. I'm doing this because they're seeing a lot of whales right now. It's a good time to go to the coast, especially out by Devil's Slide. You know where they close the old road down? Just park yourself there for a while. Just grab a chair, walk in, and especially on the right day, it's smooth, glassy, early morning, probably be the best at this point. But the grays, I've seen them come in at Lindemar when I was a kid surfing out there. The moms would bring the calves in and they would roll in the sand. And I was always told it was to get the barnacles off, because grays have an abundance of barnacles, as you'll see right here. There's some barnacles. Yeah, that's a gray. But they're also feeding, which I didn't know. Migration patterns for both whales is aggressively long. The humpback whales sometimes travel 5,000 miles in their migration routes, which is from Mexico to NorCal and Alaska. They grow to be 40 to 60 feet long, the humpbacks. The grays, which are smaller, are 40 to 50, but the grays sometimes look bigger because they're bulkier. They're kind of like a pit bull versus a jet fighter. Like these guys, the humpbacks are all about, they're flopping tails, they're jumping out of the water. If you've ever been to the North Shore of Hawaii, you've seen them off Pipeline in those areas. They just, all day long, they put on a show. Got a bunch of little fun facts here. So yeah, the bottom feed, which I didn't know. And the part about the part about them being, the grays being not that much smaller than humpbacks. I always thought humpbacks were giganticer, bigger, but they're not. They're just a little larger, but they're sleeker. They're longer. But in terms of weight and overall size, they're not that dissimilar. The humpback whales, I've seen them off the Golden Gate Bridge a few times. Back in the day, I've never heard anybody else say this. I'm sure you old timers will know. But this is a live picture of Pacifica Pier, by the way, looking for whales. The humpbacks, we didn't see them a lot. Like you'd see them once in a while, but now you see them. They go and, they follow, I'm sure there's anchovy lines and food sources that change. But literally it's in the last 8 years that I've noticed a lot more humpbacks. Grays we've always seen, right? Grays are pretty prolific along the coast. So this is a live camera. I found these guys. This is the Pacifica Pier and at Sharps Park. And I think we've got, and then this is Sharps Park again, kind of a dangerous beach, but a good place to watch for, number one, whales. Number two, you can see the depth of the marine layer. And you can see Pedro Point over here, right there. And you can see the fog kind of shrouded in top of that. And then this is just a close-up shot. So there's times, like there's probably places you can go, but if you put this up, you'll see a whale splash around out there at some point. Especially this last week, it's been pretty busy. And with the birds gone, not necessarily gone forever, but with the birds taking, growing up and coming back to the nest infrequently, then we'll get into whales, find a spot where they are, and we'll get on it. This is the satellite image. Hope you're having a good day thus far. The fog has been very persistent along the coast. San Diego, parts of Southern California, lots of it. June gloom, if you will, but there are some breaks. Malibu's been getting some breaks. Santa Barbara's been getting some breaks. But this pattern, if I were to say, weather's always interesting, but it's kind of like, this looks like yesterday, which looks like the day before. The only thing that was really varied has been the heat up here and down here, extreme heat warnings and advisories. And then the thunderstorms on the west slope of Sierra Nevada. And you may notice this in the visible satellite. Notice how there's not as much moisture available, and it's moving this way. So, and you go, what do you mean there's not so much moisture available? Well, the other day we did this, last few days we've seen, in the mid-morning hours, we've seen, some cumulus clouds popping up here out into the center of the Great Basin. We're not seeing that. Here's the moisture source here. Now that's all going to go off later on this afternoon. Now you're up here around Klamath Falls, up towards Mount Bachelor, Bend, Oregon. You'll see some stuff. But for us, I think for us being Lake Tahoe, I think that's kind of winding down. The story on the West Coast end is the heat. This is today, third straight day for many. Heat advisories, red flag warnings in the Cascades, east side of the Cascades, towards Yakima, northern Oregon up towards up towards Madras, red flag warnings here, and then extreme heat warning down towards the Bishop area. And extreme heat warnings always get me a little bit nervous, only because it's like, again, that's the one. You can't get away from heat. Like you can get out of the rain, you can get in higher ground for water, if it's a flood. But heat, you're in, man. You're baking in it. And a lot of folks, especially in these higher desert areas, probably don't have air conditioning. So that's the story today. The changes are coming. We'll see that in the GFS. The changes are going to be this trough. Well, you remember those pulses I showed that are riding along the jet stream? A pulse is going to come in tomorrow, and temperatures are going to come down. There's tomorrow's forecast. So what is that? That's Wednesday. Thursday, temperatures stay down, and Friday, they just kind of hover. They hover, and it's that same thing where the jet stream is moving along, and these pulses or vorticity maximums kind of go through the jet stream and get close to us and tweak the marine layer or tweak the onshore wind flow or tweak the pressure gradient, and doesn't really allow for, number one, stagnant air, so good air quality, right? High fire danger is always high, but not bad right now because you've got increased humidity and northwesterly winds, not offshore winds. And then what else you got? And then thunderstorms occasionally popping up, but not a real problem. Here is Mount Tamalpais, up over, 2,579 feet. And you can see the fog. So right now, it's about where it was yesterday, the depth. So what's going to happen with temperatures today in the Bay Area? About like they were yesterday. Now we go over to here. So we're north. Now we're going south. We're going to Sutro Tower, and you can see some blue sky. So Sutro Tower rises to 1,800 feet. So you can see the inversion is just about 1,800 feet. I don't know if you can see that blue sky, but the tower camera is down in the fog, right? So basically San Francisco, Daly City, Oakland, you guys, it's fog city. It'll burn back, especially in Oakland, Hayward, and Berkeley, but it will be slow. And then we go to Mount Shasta, which is a whole different climate for sure. See some smoke, right? I'm not sure what I'm looking at there, but this camera's clean, and I am seeing a little bit of smoke. So we did have smoke from those fires up in Manitoba. Maybe that's what we're seeing. We'll see. And then that moisture, remember that moisture plume we looked at and we were talking about, oh yeah, maybe a chance for a thunderstorm north up towards Bend. Well, that's pretty good vertical development there already because it's 11 o'clock in the morning. And you've got some vertical development. It's enhanced by the orographic effect of Mount Shasta, which is up over 14,000 feet. But it's also indicative of moisture in the area. And you can see it bubbling. Actually, if you saw that click through, you can see let's do it. We can see the bubbling of the cumulus clouds. So nothing. The ground gets warm. Well, why is the ground getting warm? Should start to, they're starting to show up. Isn't that interesting how they just, boom, in the last few hours, not even few hours, few minutes, bubbling, 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 bubbling. So that's that moisture. And it's going to keep going. You see how it's kind of like a boiling pot? It's the same idea. That's what convection is heat, hot air rising. So the warmer it gets, which it's going to get hot up there in that region because you got heat advisories. There's some moisture available, and that could spawn some thunderstorms. So forecast highs today. Mount Shasta is going to go 86 degrees. Mount Shasta tomorrow is going to go 82 degrees. Eureka today, 64, not bad. Eureka tomorrow, 59. So that's showing us the troughiness it's trying to build in offshore. Santa Rosa, 83. Redding, 98. Tomorrow, Redding, you get 94. I love Redding, actually. Redding's an awesome town. If you've never been, like my dad's a veterinarian, right? And all the guys, when they came out of veterinary school in Davis, his buddies, he was the second veterinarian class ever to graduate from the University of California, Davis, because it's the first time they ever had a veterinary school, right? So it was really right after World War II. So he and the boys, Charlie and Jim, and I can't remember the other names of the other veterinarians, they all moved. One moved to Redding, Charlie did, Dad moved to Paradise, Jim moved to Orland, I think, Dick Bond moved to Willows, but they kind of populated because he didn't need a lot of veterinarians and people weren't really paying money to have their animals fixed. But my point being is that they all moved into these areas, and the Redding area, in terms of, because I used to visit there a lot, it's awesome. Like in terms of topography, in terms of views, in terms of air quality gets a little sketch because the way it sits at the top of the valley and the southerly flow pushes particulate into that valley. There's kind of an inversion of sorts. But in terms of wild weather, I got to tell you, man, and I've seen this too, being up here, but from about Chico up in, see that low-lying area there? So you get thunderstorms and stuff developing. The southerly winds come in and get kind of pounded up in here and kind of get compressed and kind of get mushed around, and then there's some orographic lifting as well. So the number of F1 tornadoes or microbursts or severe thunderstorms that occur in this area is pretty, especially Red Bluff, pretty aggressive. So, but I digress. I'm just saying Redding's a funny place, man. Like if you don't get it, you don't get it, but it's an awesome place. They do have, there are struggles with unemployment and things like that. But in terms of just straight up, quick to nature, ski Mount Shasta, fish the Pit or the McLeod, or go up to Fall River, the hiking, the mountain biking, the quickness you can get to Fortuna and Eureka. So yeah, it's kind of an awesome place. I love it. I have a love-hate. I do hate how hot it gets. That's the only other thing. These are the highest forecasts for tomorrow for these areas. So you notice the cooling, but you still see the heat down here, which, buck 18 out towards Vegas, buck 6, 110, 105 down towards Thermal, 108 in Daggett, 97 on the east side of the San Bernardino Hills. So it's going to be a hot day tomorrow in those spots. Everybody else we cool down. This is the Goes East satellite. I like showing you this because we can put in the satellite radar. So you're seeing the systems and the current radar in the last few hours, and nothing really severe, just very typical summer afternoon showers for eastern Texas, Louisiana, and then parts of southern Florida. So diurnal stuff, which is pretty much not that unusual for this time of year. And yeah, you do see some smoke coming in. I didn't see as many smoke advisories up in the northern climes, but that's definitely smoke. See it? How far south it is. So it's been transported thousands of miles in the upper atmosphere. Okay. Here we go. We're getting to the GFS vorticity model. Here is where we are. I put a loop around us. And then I want you to see that red area coming at us. That's a little vorticity maximum. And that's enough on Wednesday morning to stretch out the marine layer, to help dig a trough. See how it starts to drop down? Very subtle. But that's the temperature change tomorrow. It's very subtle. It's cooler. I didn't say it's going to be way cooler. It's just going to be cooler. But it's going to be subtle. And then when you get into, see the Pacific Northwest right here, that's real troughiness. Lots of instability. That is on Thursday afternoon. So cooling is to ensue. The trough hangs offshore. So right through Saturday. I'm looking at Southern California, you're in a whole different deal. You're going to stay very warm. But north, see if it's clear here, north of these two black lines and all the way into the Pacific Northwest, it's general cooling. Real cold, no, but just, kind of. And then there's more troughiness. This is all the way into Tuesday next week or Monday. That's interesting. And then another warm up that happens next Wednesday. And so, yeah, maybe Wednesday, Thursday looks warmer. But still, you see how close all that is, especially in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. So very interesting pattern in that it's not really diverging much from where it's been. There you go. We did learn about whales, though. That was awesome. What else do we know about whales? They move essentially March through June. Bubbling. Oh, they do that bubbling thing. That's the humpbacks where they blow bubbles in a circle. I've never seen that in person. I've seen video of it. It's how they kind of like it. Someone casting a net and the bubbles come up and then the fish get caught in the middle and then they feed through the middle. I've seen them feeding in the middle. I've never seen the classic video of the bubbling, but that's awesome. And back to whales. I mean, like I said, we didn't see humpbacks that much. I'm getting old now, but back 30, 40, 45 years ago, I didn't see that many humpbacks off the coast. I was in the water like every day at some point for years, and you'd see grays. Grays were fairly common, but humpbacks, not really. And now it's so awesome to see them. And to me, it always, and I'm sort of Pollyanna about this, but it indicates to me a healthier environment. And I've said this, that if my dad's dad, if those guys had heard that, there's bears in Sonoma County, they would have been, what? This is 1910, this stuff was all gone. There's white sharks inside the bay. What? Because a lot of things had been pretty much wiped clean, like Canada geese. Not really around back when you didn't see Canada geese in Oakland Lake Merritt. That's sort of this is all in the last 20 or 30 years, wild turkeys. So I'm sure that you can make the argument that it's not always good when things come back in. But to me, I'm like, that's a pretty healthy environment. Because if you think about the gold rush and the strip mining and the hydraulic mining, the sediments that came out think about the delta and the bay and all the junk and all the pollutants and what have you. Stuff was getting jacked around. The environment was completely thrown off. I think fly fishing, trout fishing, stream fishing, which I think is a litmus for a healthy environment, good trout streams. I think that you would see if you go fly fishing in 1890 in the Central Valley, it'd suck. Because it's the sediments. It was just so much. I mean, I think they wiped out pretty much all, not wiped out, but completely disrupted the salmon runs, the steelhead runs, and whatever. And I feel like that's slowly coming back. I don't have numbers on that, but just based on my own anecdotal experience. Okay, so here is this is the North American, looking for thunderstorms. You'll see them afternoon. There they are, right? And that's what we're seeing at Mount Shasta right now, is this moisture. Remember we looked at Mount Shasta and we saw the Cumulus developing, bubbling. Well, there's the bubbling, and that's where the moisture is. And this model is picking it out, saying, yeah, it's north of Susanville, north of Lake Tahoe, and really wants to speed off somewhere else. So looks like the thunderstorms have or should be dying down. Steamer laying, the swell is good right now, but the tides aren't. Tide's kind of in this weird medium high +3 all day. So see how wobbly it is. The best surfing right now is in the morning with the lower tides. 4 to 6 southwest swell. It's going to last for a few days. That's steamer's lane. And what else was I going to say about steamer lane? I don't know. I was going to start looking for whales. When you're looking for whales, by the way, you want smooth water. Just because when it's not smooth, you can't really see. Let me get this to go. You can't really see. It's hard to see off. Like this is Halama at the tip of Point Conception. Awesome whale watching here. Awesome whale watching. I'll bet if we sat here long enough, which you could if you wanted to, it's on the Surfline cameras, you'd see a splash or two out there. Halama's way off in the deep end, off at the tip of Point Conception, essentially. Surf there on the good size the next couple of days. So weather-wise, we're going to cool a little bit tomorrow, and we're going to kind of hover there. This is the Surf Rider Hotel. Stay there. I've never stayed there. But this is Malibu. And I was just thinking when I was looking at this picture, and now, thanks for hanging in, by the way. I think we did the weather, right? And now we're just going on about stuff. But you look at that, you go, oh, that doesn't look fun. It kind of doesn't. And the thing that's funny is like all my old girlfriends and my now wife, they all go, what do you guys talk about? And the weirdest thing is no one talks. Like, unless you're like hardcore core lord local, but very few people talk in the lineup. And especially in the old days, we didn't talk. Talking was a sign of weakness. But, like over here, this is closest to the peak. So these are the guys, these are probably your best surfers right here. They're not sitting way outside. They're sitting behind the peak, and it's kind of, if a good wave comes, they're going to get it. These are all I just got a soft top, which is fine. And then these are the guys who get out and surf maybe once a week maybe. And then these are the guys that surf probably 2 or 3 days a week. It's just interesting. Pecking order stuff's awesome. The snow is melting. Oh, I got an awesome note from somebody who works up at Mammoth. He goes, we're going to run this thing through. They're going through June, man. He goes, we've skied into August. So we'll see how that goes. This is the snow melting rapidly. But again, let's see. I'll wait for it to switch. But that chair's not running. But I think this is 24, someone told me. Oh, there they are. God love them. I love them. This is awesome. What's the temperature? This should show me numbers. Oh, 64. I was looking right there at the top. And I think this is chair 24. There looks like, I don't know where the chair's not really moving, but I think there's people in it. I think it just stopped while they're loading. But that's kind of fun. That's a fun day, right? To go skiing up there. This is the Eagles. I could back up and we could look. I haven't really looked. I kind of miss them. I've heard that they've all been back together a couple times. I'm just tweaking through here. This got to be this bad pod right now. Bad pod. Okay, well, that's it. And then what else we got here? I think I was looking at whales. Yeah. Okay, so I think we covered ourselves here. We've got weather that's going to continue on, a little cooler tomorrow. No rain in our forecast. Thunderstorms are dying down except up in this area. The whales are moving. So if you need a fix from a nature snack, just go grab a little, I think the awesome move any day of the week is to just park in that parking lot where Devil's Slide is. Walk in with your own 2 feet, take a little chair, and then sit and just watch. And bikers will go by, hikers will go by, but no cars, right? The thing's closed. Okay. A little longer than I intended, but it is a beautiful day. Tomorrow will be cooler. Weekend about the same. Well, there you go. See you back here tomorrow.